My name is Andrew Molchin, and I will be demonstrating how to create your first application using my service, Amazon Lightsail. So just to give you a quick summary of what you're going to learn today, we'll start off by learning what is Amazon Lightsail, and then we'll also discuss when Amazon Lightsail is appropriate for your workload or application. And then finally, we'll get into the details of what you can do with Amazon Lightsail, which includes things like creating instances, creating databases, and horizontal scaling with snapshots and also load balancers. So to start off, I'll give you an overview of what Amazon Lightsail actually is. We're a service that's essentially designed to help new users get up and running in the cloud quickly and easily. And we do that in a variety of ways. One thing that we offer is our own web console. So we offer a simplified and easy-to-use web console that allows you to see all your resources in Lightsail in one place. In addition, the console is cross-regional, so you can see all your resources throughout all your regions, again, in one place to provide a simplified and unified experience. Another benefit that we offer is a fixed bundle package. So we provide everything that you need to get started, compute, EBS storage, and data transfer, all for a fixed monthly price, so you know exactly how much you're going to pay every month. Finally, we offer meaningful defaults. So we provide a curated list of software packages for you to use so you can get started right away, easily and simply, without as much complexity in choosing what type of package you would like to run. So we make it easy to get started, but we also make it easy to manage your resources. So the console gives you the ability to stop, start, create, and manage configuration settings for the resources you create on Amazon Lightsail. And it also has a robust API and CLI as well, so everything you do on this console can also be done via the command line or programming interface. Finally, we give you the ability to scale. So in addition to those bundles that I mentioned, we also offer databases and load balancers for a fixed monthly price. And we also offer the ability to take your instances on Lightsail and export them to AWS EC2 in case you want to integrate other AWS services in your app. Lightsail is appropriate for new users starting out on the cloud, and also if you're a more sophisticated user but want a test environment or a sandbox environment that you can get spun up quickly. If you have a more complex use case that needs to serve tens of thousands of users, or you want to use specific niche AWS services, then AWS as a whole might be a better bet for you. So with that introduction, I wanted to actually talk to you about what we're going to be building today on Lightsail. We're going to be building a simple to-do application that has a PHP front end and a MySQL back end, and we're going to be doing it in 3 phases. So first, we're going to deploy the app on a single Lightsail instance, so it'll be a monolithic app. Then we're going to separate out the back end or the database onto a managed database, so it'll be its own separate resource. And then finally, we're going to scale out the front end. So we're going to build multiple front end web servers and put them behind a load balancer to get a multi-tiered, highly available application on Amazon Lightsail. So we'll get right into it. Phase 1, we're going to create the Lightsail instance. We're going to clone a GitHub repo that has the actual code for the application on it. And then we're going to configure the app so that it can talk to the database, again, on that individual instance, because this is initially going to be a monolithic app. So I'm going to demonstrate that to you today. I'm going to go to Amazon Lightsail, which is right here on the console. And the little side button indicates that that's going to open up in a new window and show you the Lightsail console. So as I mentioned, it's designed to be simple and easy to use if you want to get up and running quickly. Everything that we offer on Lightsail, you can see here, instances, databases, networking, storage, and snapshots. So as I mentioned, I'm going to start by creating the app on an instance. So I'm going to go to Create Instance. And that'll open up the Create Instance flow. So I choose which region I want. I'm going to leave it in Oregon. And then I can go down and pick which specific software bundle or AMI I want to actually create on Lightsail. And as I mentioned before, we offer a curated list of AMIs to help you choose what is most important for you so you can get started quickly. We also offer bare OS bundles as well. So if you're more sophisticated and you know exactly what you need, you can start with a bare Linux distribution or Windows as well. Our app is PHP-based, so we're going to choose the LAMP stack. And again, we have several options here. We try to make things as streamlined as possible, but we do offer more advanced settings if you need them. So I'm going to go ahead and take advantage of this launch script here and add a script that's going to automatically run once the instance is completed, and that'll take care of all of the code that we need for our app. So this is the script I'm going to be using. I'm just copying and pasting this in here. Don't want to spend too much time on this, but very briefly, what the script does is remove the default landing page for this bundle. There's a page that shows up that says, welcome to LAMP. We obviously don't want that, so we go ahead and clear those files out of the directory. We clone the app, and we load the code from a GitHub repo into that same directory, so we're good to go. We modify permission settings for the configuration file that we'll use to set up the database. And then finally, we load the database password into the configuration file so that the local web app knows how to access the backend. The password is in this Bitnami application password folder, so whenever you set up this type of bundle, that is where the password can be found for the specific database that comes with it. So we're just essentially storing that in the configuration file using the sed command. This is where we have our fixed price bundles, as I mentioned. So I'm going to pick the cheapest one, but you can increase in size as well as processing power as you get more expensive bundles. I'm going to name it PHP FE1. And then I'm going to go ahead and click Create. And that's getting spun up. While it does, I'll shift back to the presentation. So what did we just do? We created a single instance monolithic app. We have a PHP front end and then a local MySQL database. But again, this is all on one instance, which can pose some potential problems. It's all in one instance, so there's a single point of failure. It can't really respond to increases in demand or traffic. And the front end and the back end are tightly coupled together, which isn't ideal for scaling. So we can address all these on Lightsail, and that's exactly what we're going to do right now. The first phase is to actually take the database off of the instance itself and move it onto a separately managed Lightsail database. Then we're going to create multiple front-end web servers and then put them behind a load balancer to handle the increase in traffic and make sure we're distributing traffic evenly across those front-end web servers. Just a brief note about Lightsail managed databases. Just like our other bundle resources, we offer managed databases for a fixed monthly price. We have 4 instances size to choose from for those databases, increasing levels of compute and storage, as well as data transfer. And they're managed, so we automate backups for you, and we automate patching and updates. So everything is a managed service there. So now I'm going to switch back to Lightsail. I'm going to actually go ahead and create that database, and then I'm going to take that to-do app that we just created and point it to that managed database that I'm going to create. I click Database to go to the Databases section. I'm going to click Create Database. I'm showing the database create flow, so you can pick between MySQL or PostgreSQL if you want. I'm going to stick with MySQL. And you can change the login credentials. Again, we try to abstract away information the user might not need, but in this case, I want to change the password. Want to keep it simple because I'll be typing with one hand, so I'm going to use tasks as the password. This is a demo. In a production environment, you obviously would not use this. You would use the strong password that Lightsail would create for you, but for simplicity, I'm going to stick with this. I'm going to name it todo-db, and then I'm going to click Create Database. So while that's creating, I'm going to go to Instances and just make sure that my to-do app actually looks the way I want it to. So again, I named it PHP FE1, so this is the app right here. I have a public IP address for accessing this app, so I'm just going to copy and paste that into my browser. And the app looks good. So just to test it out, I'm going to click Add Tasks, Test, Test, and click Add Tasks. And there it is. So it's a basic functional to-do app, and we got it working appropriately. But again, this uses a local database on the instance, and that's not what we want. We want to use the managed database, so that's what we're going to do next. So databases do take a bit longer to create, and in the interest of time, I want to keep moving forward. So I created a backup database for this presentation. I'm going to go ahead and use that, but I created it in exactly the same way that I demonstrated for you. The password is, again, tasks. And by looking at the details, I get the DNS endpoint for this database, as well as the default username, which you can change if you want, and the password as well. So this is the information I'm going to pass to the app to tell it to use this managed database. Going back to the app, I click Settings, and then I'm just going to copy and paste the connection information I get here into the app. So I paste the host name, the username, and the password. And I click Save Settings. So the app tells me that the connection to the database was successful. I can add a new task if I want by going to Add Tasks, or I can click List Tasks. And if you'll see, the to-do has changed. So I loaded this to-do already in the database, so it shows me now that I'm actually using the database that I created previously rather than the local database that loaded with the instance. The database host is also listed here as well. So what we did was we were able to hook up the database successfully. I'm going to go ahead and do one extra step just to make sure I get things running for when we need it. I'm going to create a snapshot of this instance, and I'll explain what that is in a second. But I just want to get it starting now so it'll be ready when we need it. Perfect. So we did phase 2. We separated out our PHP front end from our back end. They're on 2 separate resources, but they're all within the same VPC. So that box is no longer the instance. Again, they're on separate resources, but they're within the same network or virtual private cloud. So the final step that I'm going to do today is to actually scale out the front end, and I'm going to do that using snapshots, which is why I just created one for you. So snapshots are exactly what they sound like. They're a point-in-time snapshot of the given instance that I created, and they allow me to do several things. They allow me to take that instance and move it to a different region. They allow me to export it to EC2. So again, if I want to do more complex things, I can take my instance out of Lightsail and put it into AWS EC2. And they also let me replicate those servers in my specific region if I want to. And that's exactly the use case that I'm going to use snapshots for. I want to create copies of that front-end server. But as we mentioned, we also want to distribute the load evenly among those servers. So that's where we're going to use a Lightsail load balancer. It's easy to set up, as I'll demonstrate for you. And you can also attach certs to the load balancer as well with custom domains, so it can serve HTTPS traffic. So phase 3, scaling out the front end, will consist of these steps. I'm going to create the load balancer, snapshot the front end, use those snapshots to create the multiple front end servers. Then I'm going to put all 3 behind a load balancer. If we have time, we can add a custom CNAME record, so we give the load balancer a nice domain name rather than the default one. But those are the steps essentially to get our complete architecture, multi-tiered, highly available to-do app in place. So first I'm going to check on the snapshot. So it's still going. In the meantime, I'm going to click networking, and I'm going to create the load balancer. So I have a backup here just in case I need it. But I'm going to create a new one from scratch. Again, I pick which region I would like. I can also enable HTTPS if I want, again, with a custom domain provided by Amazon. And then I'm going to click into the name field and name it todo-lb. As I mentioned, most things on Lightsail are a fixed monthly price, so the load balancer will cost $18 per month. I know exactly how much it's going to cost me, and then I'm going to click Create Load Balancer to actually create the resource. So it's spun up pretty quickly. Again, just want to check on that snapshot, still going. So now I'm going to go into this load balancer again, and I want to actually attach the specific servers I created to the load balancer so it knows about them and can distribute the load to them appropriately. So to do that, I'm going to click here, and it shows me all the different instances I have. I do have some backups just in case, but this PHP FE1 was the one we created for this purposes. So I'm going to select that and click Attach. And right now, the load balancer is performing a health check on the instance. So before it actually attaches to it, it's just going to make sure it can connect to it, and then it's going to let me know that everything's OK. If there's a failure, it will be indicated as such, so I know something went wrong with the connection between the load balancer and this instance, which again, in this case, is our to-do app that we created. Can you give it another 10 seconds or so? Sometimes it does take a little bit of time, so I'm going to go ahead and use this existing snapshot I took of a different instance, but it is, there we go, perfect timing. So we have the snapshot all set to go. Again, we can do a lot of different things with the snapshot. We can create a new instance with it. We can copy this instance to another region, or we can export it to EC2. As I mentioned, I want to create a new instance, so I'm going to click Create New Instance. And now I have the instance create screen that I saw previously, exactly the same thing as before. I'm going to go ahead and just give this a different name. I'm going to call it PHP Frontend 2, and I'm going to click Create. And then I'm going to go back and repeat the process so I have one more front-end server that I can work with. So then when you create a snapshot, if you don't choose export to a new region, it's going to be the same region, but you can change the availability zone if you want to make the app more highly available or more fault tolerant. And you also can choose a bigger instance size than the one that was initially used in the snapshot. So if you want to upgrade to your instance so it has more memory or more vCPU or even more hard drive space, you can go ahead and do that here. I'm just going to change the name to PHP FE3 and click Create. And now the two instances are spinning up. They should be done shortly, and when they do, I can go ahead and attach them to the load balancer, and I'm going to do that in exactly the same way I did with the other instances. So I'm going to click To Do LB, and then I'm going to click Attach Another to attach them. As you can see, the health check passed, so we're good to go with our front-end server here. So the second front-end server finished spinning up, which is great. So now I can select it from the list, and then I can click Attach. And now the same process that happened with the first server is going to happen with the second. It's going to go ahead and perform a health check to make sure everything looks OK. Just going to check on the status of that third instance. So the third instance just finished starting up, so I can go back to my load balancer and attach that as well. There it is in the drop-down menu. So I'm going to select my third front-end instance and click Attach. So the second instance attached successfully. I'm just going to wait for a third one, which should be a few seconds, and then I can go ahead and demonstrate the load balancer in action. As I mentioned, it gives you this DNS endpoint. Obviously, you're not going to use that in a production application, so you can create a CNAME record to map that to a different domain. Also, I wanted to mention, for all Lightsail resources, you can use tags. So if you're running multiple applications on Lightsail, you can give each resource a tag that tells you which application it's for, so you can easily filter out which resources pertain to which applications you're running. So the third instance passed. We're all good there from a health check perspective. I'm going to go ahead and use this DNS endpoint to access the load balancer, just copying and pasting it into the browser. And we see our to-do app. And if you notice when I refresh, the front-end host is going to change. So the app displays the IP or the private IP address of that instance. So as I refresh, it changes to indicate that every time I refresh, the request is getting routed to a different front-end server. So we got our app working. So just to summarize, we created a multi-tiered application in Lightsail in less than 20 minutes. We have a load balancer, we have 3 front-end servers, and then we have a managed database on our back end. So we have a highly available multi-tiered application that we created within 20 minutes. I based this off of a workshop that's shown there. So if you'd like, you can navigate to that URL and go through all the steps I just did to do this on your own. The code for the to-do app, in case you're curious, is right there on that GitHub repo. So take a picture if you'd like to get that information and do this again on your own. And that's all I have. Thank you so much. Appreciate your time, guys. Thank you.